Sick Harrison Price from the historic Wall Center. And look, we feel you. It is difficult getting that specific jewelry piece for your better half. You're never sure what to get. You need help at the store. Ben Moss Jewelers and the great knowledgeable staff there are here to help you out. Ben Moss, proudly Canadian owned, operated with a history dating back more than 100 years, 5 locations in BC, including Willowbrook in Langley, Coquitlam Center, committed to customer satisfaction. You can check out the large selection of Canadian mine diamonds, lab-grown diamonds, and mine diamonds available. Payment plans to suit your needs. For more information, check out benmoss.com. Ben Moss, for the love of jewelry. And we welcome in the Director of Content for Elite Prospects, Tuesday regular with us, Mr. Cam Robinson. How you doing? Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Better than the Vancouver Canucks. 2 games, no wins thus far, Cam. What stood out to you as you've watched this team play?
I think the biggest thing is obviously that red hot start in game 1 there. That was like, oh boy, like here we go, right? They're going to come off just rolling. And then they got outchanced, they got out muscled, they got outworked by a Flames team that should probably be in the basement. And then obviously blowing another third period lead against Philly. There's a lot of new bodies on this team, right? And it's going to take some time. They're going to need to form that chemistry. They're going to need to adjust to the new systems. Like some guys are going to come in, they're just going to automatically understand exactly what Rick Tocchet and company wants from them. But everyone else, when you're kind of adjusting to a new system, you're second guessing. Am I in the right spot? Am I, going the proper direction? Am I doing exactly what I need to be doing instead of just reacting and playing fast and exciting hockey because you know and trust everything? And so 2 games, they got 2 points, right? Mitigate the damage is picking up those points. And so it's not the end of the world. It's at the beginning of the season, you do a couple of these games in February and nobody really notices, right? It's just a blip on the radar. But you start your season like that and everybody starts to be like, oh, is this team, here comes the crash from that PDO run last year. And I don't think that's to be the case at this point. But, you like them turned around here in game 3.
Does the road help? Just having everybody together, do some bonding, focus on hockey and only hockey?
I think so. I think that has always been kind of a staple of the team, especially if you can get a road trip early on. Is that, yeah, especially with a bunch of new bodies coming in there, is that they need to join hands and kind of kumbaya a little bit and joke around on the road and have all their dinners together and not have to worry about going home to babies and wives and whatever else is going on in their personal lives. Is exactly right. Like, is that they can just focus on hockeying and coming together as a team and maybe have those discussions with coaches a little bit more on the plane or in the hotel or whatever about here's where you need to be, X's and O's stuff. So hopefully, yeah, and there's some winnable games on this road trip too, right? So hopefully they can get rolling a bit, and then hopefully the stars can get rolling a little bit too, because at the end of the day, that core group of players is really going to drive the bus on how good this team can be, and if the stars aren't going, then the team won't be going.
Is it too early to start be worried about Elias Pettersson? That's our poll question today. What says you, Cam?
No, I will say no. In a bubble, it is not too soon because it's 2 games, but in reality, it's 30 games, 40 games going back to last season. I'm not sure exactly when, he had that real big pop in December, January last year, and it has been kind of iffy since then. So I understand why some fans are a little concerned with the new contract in his back pocket and but he's flashing. He had that great chance late against Philly. I fully believe in this player's talent. I think it's going to come. It's just one of those things, again, like I said, it's just 2 games at the beginning of the season. If it happened in February or March, nobody would notice, but it does have to happen sooner rather than later. He needs to be a superstar for this team. They're paying him like it. He's skilled enough to do it. It will have to happen sooner rather than later.
Who are the optimal line mates beside him? Who do you think give him the best chance of success?
Personally, I would love to see Hoglander up with him and DeBrusk. I think that Hoglander he's looked great on that third line, but I think he does have the ability to play up and really kind of ignite players around him. They're buddies. They have that chemistry off the ice. I think they can have it on the ice too. So for me, I think that having Hoglander with Pettersson and DeBrusk long-term would be ideal. I think he's got the skill, he's got the jam, and they've got that connection so it does mess with a third line that's, arguably been their best line and showed that early in the preseason too. But Dakota Joshua's coming back. Things are going to get mixed and matched anyways. So that would be long-term for me. I think that would be the best fit.
They had a chance to win both of the games that they've played so far. And of course they didn't choose to play preseason games as a full dress rehearsal outside of the last one. So there hasn't been a chance to maintain any chemistry. Is it too early to be tweaking things? Should he just leave well enough alone, Rick Tocchet, and just see what that original group that his original thought when he put together the line? We saw very clearly what he was thinking. Should he let them go for a little bit here rather than already tweaking things here after, again, 2 third-period leads that he should have nursed home?
I think it's difficult not to, and I think part of it is also just to kind of light a fire too, right? Is that if a combination isn't working and you have a couple of outings like that, it's like, okay, we're going to blend it up a little bit, and you can do that in mid game. And I'm sure he'll go back to those original set of lines that he envisioned to start the season. I'm sure we'll see plenty of that throughout the year or even throughout this month. But to just kind of shake things up and give players some different looks. But I think you're right in that sense, is that you want the players to become comfortable, especially these new players, right? In their new situation, their new circumstances, in the new system. And so to then put them on a new line, and now they have to not only deal with those things, but they also have to deal with, hey, I'm working with a new center who maybe prefers to dish off, do a little pop pass coming out of the zone this way, or someone who likes to drive north-south a little more than east-west. And so that's another thing they have to acclimate to. So I do understand the temptation to mix it up, and I understand that he's going to too, but I do think that it'll probably be more to just light a fire than anything else.
If Silovs has another stinker tonight, do you run with Kevin Lankinen over a block of games?
Yes, you do. If he has the stinker, for sure. And I think that this, going back to him here, is kind of that, giving that credit where credit is due, that he's earned through the playoffs last season, and he's been with the organization. So you just kind of wipe away that first start and you give him this one. But if he doesn't show up, and then Lankinen does show up in his second start, then yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that it's going to be one of those ride the hot hands after that. And so if it's Lankinen and he wins the game, it's going to be Lankinen again until he has a bad outing, and then you can get Silovs back in there too. But I think that this one is kind of that gift for, you were a guy last year in the playoffs, but you better turn it on now.
Myers is a possibility tonight, according to coach. Of course, played just the one shift Friday against Philadelphia. What do you make of this Canucks defense score if it's minus Myers, and how much success can they have minus Myers?
We got to have this as like a weekly segment where I shred the bottom four of this defense score. It's a concern. It's a concern. Darnay already getting scratched in game 2. Mobility, being able to move the puck out with quick passes and skating the puck out outside of that top pairing, it is dicey for sure, and it's concerning. And with Myers out of the lineup, like, you look at that bottom 4, and that's a bottom 4 defense pair, like setup of a bottom feeding team, really. So they need Myers, and then, like I said, and I'll keep saying it every week, they need another right shot defenseman. And I'll keep beating that drum as long as I can.
Does Eric Brandstrom help this group?
Well, he's the left.
Yeah, he's a lefty, but I mean, he can move the puck.
Profile. Yeah. He's that profile.
He absolutely is, and he moves the puck and he skates the puck. And like, I don't know if you guys have seen what he's been doing in Abbotsford lately, but he is fun to watch. Like, you do not bring that guy in to stop plays, but you bring him up to create for you, and he can absolutely do that. And if you can put him next to, if one of them can go on their offside next to Susie or something like that, and you have that guy who can clean up his messes for him, you got to move the puck up ice if you want those forwards moving.
Would Timothy Liljegren interest you for the Canucks as a right side guy who's apparently available, or at least getting action in Toronto?
Yeah, he would. Obviously, it's always cost dependent, but yes, that's the type of player. Is that, again, he's not a perfect player on the blue line there, but he does skate very, very well. He does move the puck. He knows how to outlet. He knows how to jump into rushes and activate. He can retrieve pucks quickly with some lateral agility too, to kind of break pressure. So absolutely, that's a player. And I'm sure Vancouver has kicked the tires on what that cost would look like, especially when Myers kind of got injured there. But we'll see. But yes, that's the type of player you're looking for, where it won't cost you an arm and a leg. But it could be a decent stopgap. But I think long term, again, you're still going to look for maybe an impact guy that you can.
That's the thing. That's the thing.
There's a top 4 defenseman.
You're wasting $3 million in cap space potentially. Maybe they can swallow something if you're Toronto, but you're still going to be taking on some cap space there with Liljegren, when really he doesn't fit the actual bill of what you need, which is a certified top 4 defenseman.
So let me just ask: you'd play Liljegren behind Myers? Myers would get more ice time on your right side than Liljegren if you acquired him?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
They do different types of things, but I think you would feel more comfortable having that as your Myers as your 2 and then him as your 3 on the right side. It's kind of they're both 3s if you're honest with yourself. But yeah,
that's right.
All right. Abby, they've dispatched goaltender Ty Young to Kalamazoo of the ECHL, still running 15 forwards, 11 defensemen, 2 goaltenders. Can you tell us about the challenges that presents for Manny Malhotra on a night-to-night basis?
I hope everybody's filling out their team snap there and availability. That's a big roster. Who's showing up for this game?
But also in terms of development, Cam, if you've got that many bodies on the farm.
Yeah, that's a crowded lot there. I'm sure practices are just loads of fun, right? You're waiting in line half an hour to get your turn up. But with the veteran rules down there in the AHL and so many guys, you can only dress so many players who have X amount of games experience. Is that gonna kind of limit what Malhotra who he can dress in certain games? But they're gonna have to make some decisions. They're gonna have to loan guys to Kalamazoo or loan them to other AHL teams. They're gonna have to find spots for them. So basically what you're looking at is who's in the plans for Vancouver, in the near immediate future. And those are the guys you really want to work with and try to bring along and make sure they get their minutes. And then some of these other guys that you're like, okay, this is depth for our organization and it's great to have, but all of a sudden, especially on the left side, we got too much of it. There's too many left shot defensemen with that, experience and you don't use them all. So either trade them or loan them or whatever you need to do to get more playing time for everybody.
You almost wonder if all these bodies are awaiting that top 4 trade that we talked about on the defensive side, because maybe some of that's cannon fodder for the trade. Maybe that's part of the package that goes the other way.
Yeah, it's a good point. It could absolutely be too, for sure.
It's it's a possibility for the Vancouver Canucks to use some of these players as well, depending on how the start goes. Do you wait for that as well? Do you wait to see how everybody starts before you make any of those decisions? Because you might need to rotate some bodies through.
Well, and I'm sure that's what they're doing right now is it's just kind of holding pace. And they're like, okay, let's see, who's injured, who's going to actually play, the up and downs of the salary cap, getting Baines in the lineup. There's going to be some moving parts early on in any season, but especially in this one with the uniqueness of their kind of cap situation and then how deep that roster is in Abbotsford. It's going to be fun to watch. It'll be interesting to watch, especially for people that are really interested in that type of part of the business, is that how they're going to use their contracts in the best way they can.
We saw some bad news for the Canucks in terms of their prospects with Anthony Romani's injury. He was a bit of a focal point during Young Stars, that high-end offensive talent, and he's got a broken clavicle, it looks like, in junior.
Yeah, so he'll be out for, 4 weeks, probably something like that. It's not the end of the world, an injury like that, but it will put him on the shelf for a little bit. But I mean, his job this year was to go back to junior and dominate once again, but also improving the foot speed, improving kind of his two-way ability to become a dominant force on all sides. And an injury like this, yeah, it kind of hiccups the start of your season, but I don't have any concerns about him finding a role on that team again and then building up. This is his final year in junior in all likelihood, especially with the point totals that he puts up. So it should be about rounding out his game, and that shouldn't be an issue or an issue long term with an injury like this.
Yeah, and as we go through the season, we'll check on some prospects with you, Cam, because we know you follow them not just before they're drafted, but even after they're drafted as well. So follow them at Elite Prospects for all the best on the draft prospects, and follow them with us on the Canucks each and every Tuesday. Thanks for this, buddy. Catch up next week.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Talk soon.